Hello, everyone. Welcome back and welcome in to this day four recap of the throws the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. Tonight, first day of the meet without a morning session was nice. Got a little bit of sleep. Um, that was great, but that also meant, unfortunately, we only had one throwing comp, which less great. The comp itself, though, was one of the greatest ever. Men's hammer final. This is what we've been building to all year. Every 83-meter throw from Rudy and Benz. Every 81 high from Ethan Katzberg and Merlin Hummel and Jan Chosanand and Milo Kokon. Everything had been building to this absolute clash of the titans that we witnessed go down in Tokyo, and it lived up to every possible expectation you could have had for it, and it was amazing. So let's hop right into it. The order for this one was really, really good. You started off with Mihailo Kokon, the reigning Olympic bronze medalist, and then you went into Ben Salash, the world leader, reigning Olympic silver medalist, Ethan Katzberg. We're all familiar with who Ethan Katzberg is. Um, and then Rudy Winkler, who's never won a gold medal, but threw 83.16 to beat Ethan at pre earlier this year. And so you had just four really, oh gosh, less than 2 minutes in and the yawns are already starting. That's unfortunate. But you had four really heavy hitters lined up right off the bat. And they came out bloody swinging. Um, Decent opener for Mihailo. He fouled his first throw, so that's not that great of an opener. But then Ben Salash steps in the ring and goes 81-51 off the rip, making it 5 straight competitions in a row for him over 81 meters, which is simply incredible. And then Ethan Katzberg comes in the ring. And when we were in this situation last year in Paris, it was a foregone conclusion heading into the final. It's Ethan Katzberg's gold medal to lose, and he's not going to lose it. This year, very different situation. Because, Benson Rudy have kind of had his number recently, and Ethan had lost 3 of the last 4 coming into these championships. So, how does he respond? Obviously, got off to a good start yesterday in qualifying with 81-85, and then he opens up the final going 82-66. Golly, 11 centimeters. I think 11 centimeters off what was his season's best coming into this, and just an absolute missile. Um, so he's letting it rip, and he's showing he's gonna try and do the same thing he did in Paris last year, where he just puts this away as soon as possible and doesn't let anyone get within sniffing distance. Rudy Winkler fouled his first throw, and then about 7 competitors later, someone got within sniffing distance. It's fair to say that when Merlin Hummel, who has been having a great season, he was 10th at the Olympics last year. I think he's maybe a couple months older than Ethan, but he's still just 23, I'm pretty certain. And he had a good year last year, but he's really taken a step forward this year. Thrown some really impressive marks, over 83 times. I believe his PB was 81-27 that came in June at the European Team Championships. But his PB would not remain 81-27 for long because he went 82-77 on his opening throw. that's inhumane. A meter and a half PB takes the lead, just absurd stuff. And then we go to round 2, and, Ben Salash goes over 80 again, but then Ethan MF Katzberg steps in the ring, and he goes 84-70. Are you kidding me? 84-70 for Ethan Katzberg. He becomes the 5th best thrower in world history. What, let me check real quick. Let me check when was the last time someone threw further than 84-70, because it has not been recent. I will tell you that. Okay. So the last time someone threw over 84-70 um, was Vadim Devyatov when he threw 84-90 um, on July 21st, 2005. So Ethan has the best throw in over 2 decades now, which is not surprising given how good he is. But seeing this mark on the second throw of the competition really was just, well, first of all, being able to actually be inside the stadium to watch this one was absolutely incredible. I was not relegated to the mix zone for this, and so I saw every every stinking throw, and it was lovely, and it was just an absolute pleasure to watch this competition unfold. And Ethan, I mean, 84-70 is just such a big mark. And it's like a 2-meter season's best for him. I mean, last year he went 84 in Paris at the Olympics to win there, but he had already gone 84 that year when he opened up at the Kip Keino Classic. So we knew for a fact that's like that, the kind of shape he was in that year and the kind of potential he had. But we hadn't seen something that big out of him this year. I mean, um he was third on the descending order list this year. Like, Benson, Rudy had both thrown farther than him. And so for him to just come out and immediately wrap it up that fast was very, very impressive. And from there, I'm not gonna bore you guys with just a like round by round. Oh, Ethan threw blah 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 blah. But basically, all you need to really know is Ethan Katzberg had 6 legal throws today. His worst was 81-86. And then he had 2 throws over 82, 3 over 83, and obviously his 84-70. That's gotta be one of the absolute best series in history. That is insane. Merlin Hummel, who ended up hanging on for silver, had 3 legal throws: 82-77, 80-71, and 82-14. And Ben Salash had 5 legal throws, the worst of which was 80-03. So, of the 3 guys that landed on the podium, of the 14 legal throws they took, every single one of them was over 80 meters. That is absurd. Like, the fact that we got the absolute pleasure to see all of them on to that extent in the same competition is really, really special stuff to see. And it was literally so much fun. Um, there's an old adage of, like, no cheering in the press box. I completely failed that in the press tribune today because I was very, very excitable about the way this competition was shaking out. This one, there wasn't, like, a ton of movement in this competition necessarily because after Ethan took the lead in, uh, round 2, when he threw his 84-70, um, there weren't any movement in the podium after that. So we were kind of solidified there. Eventually, Hilo Kokan did come to kind of shake things up, going 82-02 in the fifth round, I should say. But the top three didn't really change. And so this is kind of the opposite of what we saw in the men's shot put final. Where in the men's shot put final, the marks weren't that crazy. Like Ryan was the only guy that threw 22, but the competition and the changing of the order, and the really big throws and the comebacks and whatnot, that was kind of what was really driving the excitement factor of that competition. In this one, it was how far can these guys go? And oh my god, they just went farther than you could have possibly imagined. So this one was kind of excitement fueled by marks, whereas the men's shot was kind of excitement fueled by competition, but they were equally entertaining. And I thought I was kind of like being a little naive in the lead up to this one where I'm like, oh, what if it takes 83 to medal? Like I asked Rudy this in the mix zone yesterday. I was like, "Do you think it'll take 83 to medal?" And he was like, "No," which like, yeah, technically it didn't take 83 to medal, but come on, it essentially did. So I'm gonna kind of take the win on that one. Um, Speaking of Rudy, we'll get to him now. It's his best finish ever at a major championship, going 78-52 and finishing 5th. He really did not have an easy day. Fouled his first 2 throws and then fouls in 4 and 5 as well. He was kinda just struggling to find it today for one reason or another. But I mean, the season he put together is just so, so impressive. And thank goodness it was as impressive as it was because he said in the mix zone after that, like, leading into 2025, he was considering retirement if this year didn't go really well. And now he put together the best season of his career, and he said he's focusing on, like, LA 28 now, at the very least making it there. So, for that alone, I'm very grateful for, the type of season that Rudy Winkler had so that he sticks around for a couple more years. Oh my gosh, I'm so unbelievably sleep deprived. Like, it's incredible. But it's worth it for these shows. It's worth it to help educate the people. Um, so for Rudy, like, it's not his best day. He was pretty candid about that. Like, he wanted more. He knew more could have been in store for him if he could have found that today. But he's just gonna be back better than ever. And like this year was such a huge step forward for Rudy, and obviously the top end with him breaking his American record and breaking 83, but also he was just so consistent this year, right around 80 meters or over 80 meters or over 81. Um, he was just crushing. And so he has a ton to be proud of, even though this meet didn't necessarily shake out the way that he wanted. 6 guys over 78 in this one. Pavel Fidek finished 6th, throwing 77-75. And in 8th, it was Armin Sabados of Hungary, who Hungary got all 3 of their guys into this final, which was pretty impressive. But for Armin, he's a couple weeks ago, he threw 83 with the junior implement. He threw 78 with the senior implement earlier this year. He comes into these championships, and I have an interview with him that is, gonna be up on my YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, everything. And I think he said that he hurt his knee during warm-ups and yet still produced at 19 years old in the midst of, like, one of the best hammer competitions ever. He goes 75, 65, 75, 69, 76, 21, 77, 15. So it was not only are those really, really good marks, but it was markedly improving every round until he finally got to round 5 and fouled his last attempt. But for Armin, like, he's got so much in store, and throwing 77 at 19 is so impressive. And he's 8th in the world as a 19-year-old in one of the hardest competitions the world has ever seen. So unbelievably impressive stuff from Armin. Trey Knight picking up 10th here. You absolutely love to see that. Like, who needs an NCAA final when you can just go ahead and finish 10th in the world final? Because that's what Trey Knight did today. Tomorrow, let's talk about I forgot to mention that this was the first time in history that 4 men have gone 82 in the same competition. That is special. That is showing how great this sport can be, and it's also especially exciting to see, because, like, these guys like Bentz, Merlin, Rudy, all of them, they are answering the call of Ethan Katzberg needs competition. They're seeing what Ethan did, and they are pushing themselves to at least give him a scare. And they did that successfully this season, but unfortunately, today, I think Ethan was just dialed in. It was just getting the job done no matter what. And today, getting the job done and happened to include throwing 84-70. So hats off to Ethan, as always. Tomorrow, we've got men's javelin qualifying in the evening session. Um, I might take tomorrow off just to go to bed earlier and get more sleep. I mean, just from the live show, especially because it's just a qualifying round. I'll still have interviews coming up, on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Um, but yeah, no morning session tomorrow, just the evening session. So I will let you guys know if I do end up doing a recap of some epic men's javelin. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize for yawning. But it's 2:32 a.m. here. So I'm pretty tired, and I'm gonna reward myself for that tiredness by going to bed. If I can go to bed, because I'm still kind of hyped up about this competition because it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And I will always remember the men's hammer final at the 2025 Tokyo World Championships. Um, let's hope men's jav, women's shot, and men's disc can live up to the hype that the first half of this slate of events created. Um, will they do that? I guess we shall see on Friday. Um, no, just Thursday. On Thursday when we get to the men's javelin final. And we'll kind of go from there. But for now, that is it. So thank you guys so much for watching / listening. Please like, subscribe, follow the Instagram at Paulie Throws, follow the Twitter at PHoffMahoney, Paulie Throws on YouTube, obviously. And I will see you guys next time.